You know, the other day I had a conversation that completely flipped my perspective on what it really takes to hit those big, ambitious goals. And it started with a goal that, let's be honest, so many of us have on our minds: financial freedom. So let's just start right there with a really important question for you. What does financial freedom actually mean to you? Because for most of us, it isn't really a number in a bank account. Nope, it's a feeling. So what is that feeling you're really after? See, this is something we've got to get our heads around. Financial freedom is, well, it's a feeling before it's a number. It's about buying your time back. It's about getting rid of that knot in your stomach when the bills are due. It's about having the power to make choices without money being the only thing you think about. It is the feeling of being unchained. And that brings me to this story. I was having dinner with a school teacher, we'll call him John, and he had this huge, amazing goal, but he felt completely and utterly stuck. And I think his situation is going to sound really familiar to a lot of you. John had a very, very specific number in his head for what financial freedom looked like. And that's exactly where our conversation got really interesting. It's also where the first huge lesson for all of us popped up. So he tells me his goal, £1 million, in the bank in the next 8 years. I mean, what a fantastic, ambitious goal, right? You gotta love that kind of clarity. But as you're about to see, having a goal, that's just step one. So we did some quick back-of-the-napkin math. £1 million in 8 years. Okay, that means you've got to save £125,000 a year. After you pay your taxes and, live. That means he'd need to be earning somewhere around £200,000 a year. Now, whenever I'm faced with a big problem like this, I like to use a really simple framework I call GPS. It stands for goal, plan, and system. The goal was crystal clear: earn 200 grand a year. So naturally, we moved on to the P, the plan. And boom, right there. This one slide shows you the entire problem. His goal, earn $200,000 a year. His current plan, work as a school teacher, earning about $50,000 a year. You don't need to be a math genius to see the massive, massive disconnect there. So this leads us to the moment of truth, a moment we all face. When your goal and your plan are worlds apart, you have two choices, and only two. You either change the goal or you change the plan. Do you dial back your ambition to match what you're doing now, or do you change what you're doing to match your ambition? Now, John, to his credit, was adamant. He wanted that goal. So he made the choice: change the plan. But that decision, well, it opened up a whole new can of worms, an even bigger, more fundamental problem. So I asked him, okay, great, what's the new plan? And his ideas, well, they were the kind of things you hear all the time, but they were deeply flawed. He was like, maybe real estate, but he had no money to invest. Or how about a tutoring company, but he had no time to scale it. He just didn't have a map. And this brings us to such a critical distinction. So many of us, when we're stuck, we think we just need to work harder. We think we have an execution problem. But what if the issue isn't your work ethic at all? John didn't have an execution problem. He had a knowledge problem. And what that means is he literally could not name the different roads that could take him to his destination. The options didn't exist for him because he hadn't learned about them yet. He didn't know what he didn't know. So how do you solve a knowledge problem? How do you get the map? Well, it's actually way simpler than you think. You start treating making money like any other skill you'd want to learn. You go to school. You study up. So I asked him a very simple, very direct question. I said, John, how many books have you read or podcasts have you listened to specifically about making money or starting a business? And his answer was 0, not a single one. An extraordinary goal with absolutely zero preparation. Think about it like this. You wouldn't just show up at a hospital and try to perform surgery without going to medical school first, would you? Of course not. So why do we treat building a business or creating wealth any differently? It is a skill. It has rules. It has principles you have to learn. The solution, then, is this really straightforward 3-step process. First, you've just got to acknowledge this whole thing is a skill you can learn. Second, you have to deliberately, and that's the key word, deliberately, consume information. And only then, once you can actually see the map, can you pick a path and start moving. So I gave him some homework, a starting curriculum, you could call it, a list of books and podcasts designed to give his brain a massive firmware update. This isn't just about reading. It's about downloading a whole new operating system that shows you what the world of entrepreneurship actually looks like. And what was his first reaction? The one I always hear. The one you might be thinking right now. But I don't have time. And listen, I get it, but we have to be honest with ourselves. If you want extraordinary results, you need to have extraordinary inputs. So we took a hard look at his day, and what did we find? An hour-long commute every single day where he was just listening to music. That hour could be audiobook time. So many of us have these little pockets of time, scrolling social media, watching another episode of that show, that we can reclaim and invest in the goals that really, truly matter to us. Okay, final section. Let's reframe this entire thing. Because once you've got the map and you've got a plan to start learning, there's one last crucial piece of the puzzle, having the right mindset for the journey. And by the way, if any of this has been valuable for you so far, it would mean a lot if you took a second to like this and maybe share it with someone else who's feeling a little stuck. The journey towards a big goal like this can, and it should, be exciting. You have to start treating it like a video game. Seriously, the point of a game isn't just to beat the final boss, right? The fun is in leveling up, gaining new skills, exploring new areas, and watching your character get stronger along the way. Because when you get to the end, you're going to realize something funny. The journey, that was the whole point. The skills you learn, the person you become while you're striving for that big goal, that is the real prize. The money, that's just how you keep score. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Stop focusing only on that final destination. Instead, ask yourself this. What's the very next level of your game? What new skill are you excited to unlock next? Thanks for watching.